Hey folks, I'm attorney Roger P. Foley. Today wasn't the best of days. I lost a trial. It wasn't a major case. Reality, it was a misdemeanor, but you know what? It was a major case to my client. And I really believed in his case, his cause, his defenses, and I made every effort to win. And in self-reflection, because you have to do that as an attorney. At anything you do, if you fail at something, right? I failed to convince the jury of his innocence, and they came back with a guilty, which I'm shocked. Honestly, I'm shocked because I thought it was so ridiculously clear, but there were mistakes. Number one, always go with the proven methods of success when doing voir dire, right? It's so important to get the jurors that you want. And I'm not going to go into what I look for, but I found a pattern of what to look for. And when I acquire those jurors, I win. So that was the first mistake. I was like, I shouldn't have let that person, I shouldn't have did that. But I made a mistake. Number two, and I used to say this with boxing. When you're dealing with amateurs, people who have less experience in the courtroom, like younger prosecutors, like their goal is to win, but it's almost like the stuff that they object to and the things that they argue, it's like you find yourself, instead of raising the bar, like it pulls you down. And it's analogous. I used to box. And when I would have a coach call me and say, hey, I need you to come in and work with this guy, and some heavyweight, and he's throwing crazy punches and real athletic or real strong or whatever it may be. And I'm thinking he's throwing a hook, right? So what do? I get my hand here, right? I'm tucked in and I get my hand here. And then, because the punch just came, and if he was a professional or a highly touted amateur, we throw punches similar and you know how to block it. But when you do it with the amateur, you go like this, you put your hand back down and boom, the punch hits you because it's so slow or it's not a straight line. It's like they don't hook properly and you end up getting hit with these shitty shots, and it's like, ugh. And it happened throughout my career. So like I get it with a professional, like a former like top 10 contender. I actually worked with the cruiserweight champion of the world. Like I could block and move and do everything well. And then I get it with some guy that doesn't have a lot of fights and I get hit with a punch, or, I get a bloody nose. So, but whose fault is that? That's my fault, right? Because my job is to defend, right? Defend, make sure I'm tight, defend my client. And I got caught up with all the ridiculousness and the arguments and the sidebars. I was like, holy shit, like it's so friggin' annoying. But I think it got to me a little bit, and it shouldn't. So I got to go back to the drawing board. Third, when you're dealing with judges, some judges, if you have a judge that's been on the bench for 20 years, you could get a great judge because they know the stuff. Or you could get a judge that just, they're going to do what they're going to do and you have to appeal. Sometimes you get judges that are less experienced. So I think the judge made some bad rulings, some really bad rulings, respectfully. And I know that I can appeal. But it's my job to educate the court, right? So I got to go back to the man in the mirror. Roger P. Foley made mistakes because you got to anticipate arguments. You got to anticipate case law that you're going to need. And you got to educate the court. And sometimes, respectfully, on the fly, that's very difficult to do. And there were some things that the judge was like, okay, Foley, I agree with you. And some things, but there were some things that the judge agreed to with the prosecution. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, wow. But it is what it is. You got to, you get the cards you dealt with. But I got to be better. I got to educate that court more. So voir dire, judge, getting caught up with the amateurish, items. And the fourth thing is sometimes being so detailed can make a case overly complex. And it's not an overly complex case, but because you're attacking every little thing, here's the reality. If I sit in a room and I give a lecture, some people are like, yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. That makes sense. It's logical. But you can talk over someone's head. And I think that there were times that maybe I just talked over the jury's head. And again, that's on me. I gotta bring it down a little bit. I gotta make it simpler. Keep it simple, stupid is the acronym, right? Keep it simple, stupid. So today, ultimately they came back with a guilty. The judge gave a sentence. It wasn't a ridiculous sentence. It was within a fair, guideline. But it's disappointing. I'm disappointed, and right back into the evidence code, right back into and golly, it's so crazy. You can make a mistake after 20 years of practice. You can make a mistake that you probably made in your second or third year, or even your first year, and time goes by, and you don't expect that to come up, and then all of a sudden you find yourself making the mistake. And that's the worst thing, is making a mistake. I made a mistake on a juror years ago on a DUI case. And afterwards I was able to speak to the jurors, and they said, oh, it was five not guilties to one guilty. And the one person was like, oh no, you can't believe. And then they all wanted to get home. And I always make that a point in my voir dire. If you got a big guy and a little person, big guy and a little guy, hey, if the big guy says that it's guilty, are you going to be able to stand and hold your own ground? Or because someone's more, of an alpha than maybe you, or maybe you're a little bit more reserved, are you going to stand up? If you got to get home to your wife and kids, are you just going to go, hey, go with the flow, follow the herd? And I don't think I talked about that enough. And I didn't talk about the reasonable doubt enough, because half of America doesn't know what reasonable doubt is. They're like, if he's probably guilty, he's guilty. And that's not the standard in our country. So damn it, I made mistakes. I'm mad at myself. I'm going to go I'll probably go hit the bag, or, shadow box or something. Make myself feel better if I don't have a heart attack doing it. But this is the day in life of a criminal defense attorney. And if you do motions and you do trials, no one's undefeated in this business. And it's not about who you know and all that bullshit. It's not. It's about being respected and giving everything you got. I gave everything I got, but I lost, so I got to go back. And the good thing is I came back and then had a victory. Had another victory on something else right after, because the jury was out. Then I had another motion, another courtroom, but was able to be successful in that. But you win a lot. You learn a lot if you lose, if you care. And I care, so I'm going to go back to the drawing board and do my best. But it's one of those businesses, one case is over, your next case, but I got to spend some time this weekend. I'm going to literally spend some time and go over and write out the fundamental things that I feel like I made mistakes. I'm going to order my transcript, and I'm going to look through it and find out exactly if what I think I did wrong is what I actually did wrong, and try to, critique myself. It's like playing chess with yourself. So anyway, I'm attorney Roger P. Foley. Thanks for listening. This is real life. See ya. Oh, subscribe.